If you're new to SongFormat, you might be wondering how you can create a guitar strumming pattern in SongFormat. I'll show you how. I'll start with a new file called guitarstrumming.song. Now, every SongFormat song needs to start with the default section. Default has beats per minute. We'll start with 100 beats per minute. And then I will define scales. So C3 major sounds like a good scale to start with. And then chords. This will be the chords that the guitar will be strumming. So how about a classic pop progression? I'll go with 0 major, 4 major, 5 minor, and 3 major. And in SongFormat, numbers generally start from 0, and so this is related to the first major chord, the 5th major chord, the 6th minor chord, and the 4th major chord. Now for the instrument section, I'll have one instrument, which is guitar. This will be a sample-based instrument using the guitar acoustic sample, and I'll give it a reverb so it sounds like it's in a room, like that. And then sections, I'll have one section. This will be called the strumming section. And for tracks, to start, there will be one track. And I'm going to use this triple quotation mark, which means that I can define this track on multiple lines, which you'll see will be very useful for breaking the strumming definition onto multiple lines. And this track is going to play using the guitar instrument. And I will start using scale 0. And relative to scale 0, using chord 0. And let me just go ahead and play the same note multiple times here to see what it sounds like. And so I will play the first note from the chord, which is note 0, 8 times. Let's see what that sounds like. Now I can progress through the chords like this. I look at the structure. I can see that the note is going to change as the song progresses through the chords. You might have noticed that the last 8 notes sounded exactly like the previous 8 notes, and that's because in SongFormat, whenever there is a chord change, by default, it's going to use the chord with the closest voicing to the previous chord. And you can avoid that if you want by reiterating the scale again. But for now, we're okay with using the closest voicing to the previous chord. The other thing that we'll do at this point is increase the beats per minute a little bit so that it'll be a little bit faster to listen to the demonstrations. Now, when you strum on a guitar, you're playing not just one note, you're basically strumming across the strings. And so we can start to try to get a strumming effect going by duplicating this track. I'll do it 3 times. Really, a guitar has more than 3 strings. But let's just pretend it has 3. And if I play this, you might notice that it's really just playing the same note multiple times. And so it sounds like you're playing one note. And looking at the song structure, it looks like nothing has really changed. And so, of course, when you're strumming across the notes in the chord. And so I need to go and change all these ones all these zeros into ones, which means that on the second track, it's going to be playing the second note from the chord. And once I have finished that, I'll have to go down and play note number 2, which is the third note from the chord. And so you're going to see that we're starting to get a little bit closer to strumming. Once I finish these, and if you go over to the song structure tab, you can see that, in fact, multiple notes are being played. And let's see what this sounds like. Okay, that's getting a lot closer to strumming. Now, when you're playing guitar in real life, you would be strumming your hand across the notes, or the strings, in the case of a real guitar, and you wouldn't hit all the strings at the exact same time. There would be a slight delay as your hand moves across the strings. And so it would be nice if we can emulate that same delay in this strumming pattern. One approach that I could take is I could introduce some slight delay in the form of rests, and I could introduce a 0.1 beat rest here so that this track starts 0.1 beats after the previous track. And then I might want to then, because I introduced an extra fraction of a beat here, I might want to then take away that beat from the last note, something like this, and then start doing that across the tracks, but it's going to get messy. And so I'll skip ahead to another approach that I think makes much more sense, which is that I can take the guitar instrument, duplicate it 3 times, and have each of these tracks play one of the guitars. Guitar 1, 2, and 3, there we go. And then the effect we want is we want for the second and third guitar to be on a slight delay. And there's an instrument property I can use, which is called delay. Instrument property has 3 arguments that it takes. The first is going to be the delay in seconds. The next argument will be the feedback, which we want to just set to 0. And the third argument will be the mix, which means how much do we want this effect to actually apply. In this case, we're going to want the delay to apply 100%, so we'll use 1 for the mix. So let's set up those arguments. First, the actual delay in seconds. Let's do a 0.025 second delay, 0 for the feedback and 1 for the mix. And then for the third string in the sequence, we'll use twice as long of a delay since that string is played last, and again 0 for the feedback and 1 for the mix. Let's see how that sounds. That's starting to sound a lot more like strumming, and you might note that looking at the structure tab, it looks like nothing has changed, and that's because the structure tab indicates what's going on in the melody strings, and the change we made was to the instruments themselves, and so the visual in the song structure tab will look exactly the same. Now, another thing is that when you're strumming guitar in real life, you're not moving your hand across the strings in the same direction every time. You're going up and down, up and down. And so this should really be doing the same thing. And so I could actually go, if this is going down, that first motion, 0, 1, 2, I could change this to 2, 1, 0 to go back up like this. 2, 1, and then 0. And then we're going up and then down. So we're going to do the same thing on every other note here. And let's see how that sounds. Okay, so let's go up and then back down. And then really, if you're playing a guitar, you would probably be doing some kind of a pattern for your ups and downs. So I'll go ahead and insert some rest to do an actual pattern here. So this is the down, and then we can rest on the up like that. And then we can also rest on this beat. And so if I then do the same thing on all of the tracks, we're creating a little bit of a up-down pattern here that you might be familiar with from playing a guitar in real life. So this is going to be going down, resting on the up, down, up, resting on the down, up, down, up. And let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so that was your guitar strumming tutorial in SongFormat.